Taken from the Royal Air Force Museum's very own website, Eagle Squadrons. Under American law, it was illegal for a United States citizen to join the armed forces of foreign nationals. In doing so, they lost their citizenship, although Congress passed a blanket pardon in 1944. Even so, hundreds, if not thousands, of American citizens volunteered to fly with the Royal Air Force before America officially entered the war in December 1941. Perhaps the most famous result of this were the Eagle Squadrons. Hey guys, it's Mark, and I'm the part-time British guy. The movie Pearl Harbor, like many movies growing up, I learned things that Hollywood taught me about the war. I learned wrong things that Hollywood taught me about the war. For example, not to get off topic, but when watching World War II movies growing up, I knew that the Japanese had aircraft carriers, I knew that the Americans had aircraft carriers, but apparently the Germans and the English didn't have aircraft carriers. And that's completely false. You get this perception from Hollywood as to the way things are. And with the movie Pearl, because I'm doing my book about an American who joins the RAF, it dug at me. It gnawed at me because what these people did was to volunteer their service for a country that they knew war was coming. And although America was very neutral until December 1941, that nothing was going to stop Hitler. They had to do something. And if the United States was going to do something, they were. There were people who set up to, like, for example, if the United States would not help you get to England, you had to do that on your own. And most of the people would have to go up to Canada and then catch a ferry or a clipper ship or something to get to England, and join the RAF. And the problem with Pearl is they took Eagle Squadron, they took the patch, which was correct. This patch right here. Okay, this was Eagle Squadron. This was the official Eagle Squadron patch, and you put it on the side of your uniform. Some of the squadrons. So I want to take a look at a couple of scenes and show you how disrespectful, flat out wrong, and God, how angry it makes me. Because the interesting thing that I learned when researching the book that we're currently writing is all these little things about history that kind of fall between the cracks. If you watch Pearl, in this particular scene here, the whole situation is you've already got an American pilot. So he's holding up a letter going, the English are going to take you into Eagle Squadron if you still want to go. As if it's some sort of military transfer, which it can't be, because according to the very first paragraph on the Royal Air Force Museum website about the Eagle Squadron is they had to give up their U.S. citizenship because you can't fight for a foreign national, as a foreign national. If you got to give up your rights as a U.S. citizen, you can't be in the military. So, that being said, there's no way that this person would be in uniform when they arrive in England. There's also no way that, alright, they're not Spitfires, actually they're P-40s. So, that's wrong too. But the problem is that for whatever reason, to send the character away or whatever, plot convenience, he gets shot down. and he gets saved by the French resistance, and then they send him back. There's no way that if you're in the RAF, they're not going to turn around and say, oh, your girlfriend's in Hawaii? Yeah, sure, let's ship you out to Hawaii. Not a problem. You're fighting a war. Okay? It's just you, because remember, December 7th hasn't even happened yet. It's England against the Nazis. Okay? Most of Europe is gone. They've fallen to the Germans. England's the only thing that stands in Hitler's way. And do you actually think the RAF is going to turn around and say, okay, you crashed, okay, you had a bad spell, we're going to send you back to the United States? That never would have happened. And it's funny because in this scene, he's in his RAF uniform, and he's a pilot officer, which, if you don't know the ranks of RAF officers, it's pilot officer, flying officer, flight lieutenant. So he's starting out literally as like a second lieutenant. Okay? And when he arrives in Hawaii, he's back in an American uniform. It doesn't work that way. It's not interchangeable. It never was. Do they have exchange programs? Yeah, sure. You know, a lot of times the United States will take on British soldiers, train them for a couple of weeks in whatever particular job skill or whatever, and then they go back to their unit. They go back to their home base. They don't stay. It's an affront to the men who made a sacrifice. I mean, these guys knew war was coming. The United States was unbelievably neutral. They didn't want to get involved in another war. It was only because of the war in Japan on December 7th with the attack on Pearl Harbor that the United States turned around and said, okay, yeah, we're in this fight. But before that, they didn't want anything to do with it. And that was the whole idea, the premise of the book that we were writing, because I thought about it and I was like, gee, my father would have disowned and disinherited me if I ever turned around and said I want to go fight for England. And that was the whole start of building an idea for this particular story that we're writing. You know, that it was a sacrifice. You know, it was, you know, you're going to lose your American citizenship. It means you can't vote. It means you're not a citizen anymore, which means you can't be in the U.S. military. You can't be part of the Army, Navy, they didn't have an Air Force yet. The Army, Navy, Marines. The problem with Hollywood is they take what they want for a particular story. Hey, you know, we've got this love triangle, but we need one of the main characters to kind of go away. So let's send him to England. Oh yeah, there used to be an American squadron that fought for the RAF before World War II. Perfect. We'll send him to that. But they didn't bother to do the research that literally, in order to join, you have to give up your citizenship. You have to give up your citizenship, you're not part of the military. So, it's a slap in the face, and I don't know, you know, like when I first saw Pearl Harbor, one of the things that struck me, like the irony, was that when Pearl Harbor came out, veterans of Pearl Harbor said it was the biggest piece of garbage they'd ever seen. That it wasn't anywhere near accurate. And many of them were ashamed. Now, I don't know if they were referring specifically to Eagle Squadron or they were referring to other things. Hi, and welcome to the Part-Time British Guys Patreon page. If you'd like to support the channel, it would always be for the greater good. The greater good. You can do so for as little as $1 to up to $3. That's a way of showing your general support. To give you an example, $1 is equal to 1,000 views in YouTube. So it will be helping the greater good. The greater good. Now for $5 you get your name listed in the credits at the end of every video, as long as you support the channel. It helps the greater good.
The greater good.
Now for $7 you get your name listed in the credits and you get a shout out from the part-time British guy on his next video. And of course $10. You get all the perks of the other tiers. You get your name in the credits, you get a shout out on his next video, and you get to basically suggest a video that he can do as long as it's British based and doesn't violate any YouTube community guidelines. After all, it's for the greater good.
The greater good.
Michael Bay did was he wanted a movie with the explosions, and Pearl Harbor provided that. So as far as the part-time British guy is concerned, as far as the RAF, yes, there was American squadrons called Eagle Squadron. Yes, I've showed you the patch. But as far as that's concerned, yeah, they're not going to send you home because you were shot down. You know, you're part of the Royal Air Force. You know, they need you in that fight. You know, does it even make sense that the Royal Air Force, fighting for their life, fighting for the protection of their country, is going to say, oh, okay, Yank, not a problem, you did good, you shot down a few Jerrys, as a reward we're going to send you home. So that's it, that's my rant. Hope if you have any questions, by all means ask, and again, by all means feel free. Royal Air Force Museum website, type in Eagle Squadron, and you will come up with everything that I just said. As always, if you like this video, by all means please hit like, smash that subscribe, and if you have any comments, I will respond to comments. That's it. That's all the time I have. I'm Mark Stice. Thanks for watching the video. Bye.